Good evening. Welcome to Northbeat. I'm Joseph Ho. Our top story tonight takes place in Nunavut. It's where we're hearing reaction to a recent arrest in a decades-old cold case. Two sisters of Mary Ann Birmingham are speaking out about the breakthrough. TJ Deere reports.
The suspect charged in connection with Mary Ann Birmingham's death appeared in a Paktekalewit courtroom yesterday for the first time. Birmingham's oldest sister is Elisapie Shutiapik. She said it felt great to have so much support from the community.
Unfortunately, when we lost Mary Ann, just imagine we were a very small population, so it had a huge impact. Hence why the courtroom was full. And honestly, I think as sisters, we've always done in our life help others, and people acknowledge that and want to support. Remember Mary Ann, and also, importantly, to support the sisters that are alive today.
One of Shutiapik's younger sisters is Barb Sevigny. She says changing staff at the RCMP made it feel like the case was forgotten for a long time.
They're having to get to know her file, and then by the time they're comfortable and working forward, they're having to leave. It was very frustrating back then.
In a statement to CBC News, the chief Nunavut prosecutor of the Public Prosecution Service of Canada said he's assigned two of the territory's most senior prosecutors to this case. CBC News has yet to hear from Nunavut legal aid. The suspect will next appear in court on October 29th. TJ Deere, CBC News, Iqaluit.
The inquest into the death of Sylvia Paniktaluk starts on Tuesday. Paniktaluk died in police custody in Tuktoyaktuk in July of 2021. Hours earlier, she had been detained for public intoxication. Calgary police deemed her death to be non-criminal in 2023, but did not say what caused her death. The inquest will examine the circumstances around Paniktaluk's death. The NWT's chief coroner Garth Eggenberger spoke to CBC's Hillary Bird about the process.
How she ended up in police custody, why she ended up in police custody, what happened during the time that she was in the police custody. We want to make sure that all the facts are out right now. As you said before, the Calgary police couldn't release it, but they were waiting for us to be able to do the inquest. One thing I got to make clear is we're not making any finding of fault. We're only bringing the facts forward. And our legislation actually prohibits us from actually finding fault. So this is a collaborative effort with the jury, with myself, with the council, to come to an understanding of what happened and try and prevent a future death.
Can you give us a sense of who will be called to testify?
The people who actually called in to have Ms. Paniktaluk taken away from the residence, I guess, then the police officers, and then anybody that was involved with her care from the time she was arrested until the Calgary Police Service in our office became involved. And then we do have one expert that's coming in. He's going to, address some issues around alcohol use, but I'm not sure what his testimony is.
Obviously, Sylvia is no longer alive to speak for herself. How will she be represented at this coroner's inquest?
Her family is going to be there and going to give testimony. We normally give the family what's called standing. They haven't asked for it yet, but our coroner counsel usually works with the family to make sure that all the questions that the family has are answered throughout the inquest.
This will be the fifth inquest into an in-custody death in the past 10 years. At what point do you think this issue could warrant a broader inquiry?
It's really not our mandate to do a whole bunch of deaths. We have to fit the recommendations and what we're asking the organizations to do to fit the circumstances of the death. Now, we have looked at other deaths. We've looked at when we're doing investigations, we also look and see what other recommendations are out there, and that's really what we do. And as part of the the collaborative part, we say, look at, what's happened to these other deaths, with the other council and stuff, so that they're looking at it. It's nothing formal or anything like that, but we are looking at it. One of the things with these into custody deaths, the police are dealing with a vulnerable population. Somebody who's intoxicated with alcohol is a very vulnerable position, and there are programs in the territories where they've moved those people away from cells and into shelters and things like that. But the bottom line is, if someone is violent or having issues, then there is a place for that in the cells. But I think part of the policies of the RCMP is to try to make sure that they're medically cleared to come in into the cells. But that's all I can say on that.
As you heard in that interview, in recent history, the NWT has had multiple inquests looking into deaths that happened while in police custody. This will be the 5th in the last decade, but it will be a first that involves intoxication. Shakir Rahim is from the Canadian Civil Liberties Association. He says Indigenous people getting arrested for public intoxication and later dying in police hands is a widespread problem across Canada.
One of the challenges with this issue is the fact that there has not been the type of systemic inquiry or analysis that would help to identify both some of the problems that we're seeing from a sort of pattern perspective, and also, solutions that can be implemented more broadly. And I think that's why now, for instance, we're hearing members of Parliament, senators, wanting a debate on this in the House of Commons, in the Senate, because there's a recognition this is not just isolated to an individual, to a province, to a police force, that we are grappling here with a pattern of conduct and a pattern of deaths that needs more than just the case-by-case analysis.
The inquest is set to take place in Inuvik at the Mackenzie Hotel starting on Tuesday. In the Yukon, residents of Old Crow have a new health center. The center allows people to get different services under one roof. Those include primary care, substance use treatment, and mental wellness counseling. Vuntagwitchin First Nation Chief Pauline Frost says the facility was much needed. She says her community has been long underserved. Frost also says it's great to have a building that serves both health and cultural needs.
It's beautiful in that the community has a fob to walk into the center, but into the healing room. And our community is such that when we have an illness in our community, we have someone that's not well, the community gathers in spirit and gathers in ceremony, and we ceremony around the person, and the healing room allows for that.
The health center opened this summer. It cost $55 million. It replaces Old Crow's old health building from the 1970s. The Yukon First Nation School Board had its annual general meeting last night. The board gave an update to the 11 schools under its authority. The board says reading outcomes have improved for students under its purview. Executive Director Melissa Flynn says the change happened within the past year. She credits collaboration among educators and communities.
Not only are we moving in and ensuring that land and language is important to every school and every learner who lives here in the Yukon, but we have highlighted and made moves in literacy. So the literacy plan, we will celebrate tonight, and it's celebrated in our annual report, that we have shifted the reading outcomes of our students here in the Yukon in the 11 First Nations School Board schools. And this is the first time in 30 years that this pendulum has swung at all in the Yukon. And so we are very proud of the team that we have built, and very proud of the data we are collecting, and we are changing the trajectory of children's lives in the Yukon.
The board's new literacy plan marked a shift towards something called structured literacy. It emphasizes 5 pillars, among them phonics and vocabulary. Flynn says more emotional and spiritual supports have also been offered to readers. Monday is the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. The day honors survivors of residential schools and children who never came home. With schools closed on Monday, many students held ceremonies this week. In Carcross, students at Gochclaw School walked together in remembrance. George Moratis has more.
Today was heartwarming. It was fulfilling. It just left me with great feelings. Really, we're doing this for those who couldn't. It was nice to get singing with them again, and I didn't think they would sing with me. And I'd say after the first maybe 2 houses that we passed, they started singing along with me, and it started to become more unified. And they were having fun with something like this, and that's the thing that I take away from it. Is normally I'm usually walking around telling students, okay, shh, it's ceremony, not while they're speaking, or try to lower your voice a bit. Today I got to stay in spot, and I didn't have to do anything, and the kids were very attentive, even at kindergarten. So I don't know what to take from that, but I am very, very proud about it, and it makes me excited for the future because it seems like each generation is getting more and more, they're just more and more enveloped into what they're doing.
Because it means a lot to everybody. Mostly everyone here has family that had to do with it, and it just meant a lot. My great-grandma passed away not too long ago, and a lot of the time I was thinking about her, but I know she went through a lot. Her sister went to the residential school.
Why is it important to wear the orange shirt today?
To show that every child matters, and it's for remembrance. I think about my ancestors and my uncles and my grandpas.
It was really hard for me because of it brought back lots of memories and past, and the people in my family that passed away from the mission school. And my father was one of them, and he wasn't even 40 when I lost him. And it's all through the mission school. He wouldn't talk about it, so yeah. It makes me feel really proud of seeing them wearing their T-shirts and stuff, and 2 of them were my grandchildren. I have 2 grandchildren that are here in this school too. So yeah, and I'm close with all of the kids, and I'm elder in the school. So yeah, there's always hope. For me, I had to move forward. And there's lots of healing and support that I got from my family and from my husband and my children and my grandchildren. That's what it is all about.
Dawson City hosted its own walk this afternoon. Children from the Trinkezo daycare, their families and staff walked along the Yukon River sporting their orange shirts. This is the second year the daycare held this small event. The group made its way to the giant mammoth statue on Front Street and headed back to the daycare. The Qikiqtani Inuit Association will host an event on Monday in Iqaluit. It's to mark the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. The event will include a community walk and a prayer. Orange shirts will be handed out in honor of kids who were forced to attend residential schools.
Some people who make Canada their home may not be aware of what happened with the history of Canada when it was first developing. So it's really important to raise awareness so that people that don't know become aware of what happened, what the First Nations people went through for the sake of this country and what they had to endure having no choice.
Nunavut leaders, including the territory's premier and MP, are set to deliver speeches.
He was completely unaccountable.
Prince Andrew never had somebody say the word no.
The Queen adored him more than anybody else.
This whole story is about the abuse of power.
We've got emails, we've got photographs, we've got witnesses.
Wow.
ordinary people turn a small investment into big bucks.
I'm in it to win it.
Do you think Mummy and Daddy are going to double their money? That's what I thought.
Why, hello.
You want it? I got it.
This is so cool.
Focus, focus, focus.
Here we go.
Oh, imagine how good the TV's gonna look now.
Oh, God!
This is incredible.
Did you know this?
As if.
Could the pressure be any higher?
Every week, the issues that matter to Canadians.
Cost of living hurts everybody.
Connecting politics to people.
Win, win, win.
We are not going back.
Sundays, join me for Rosemary Barton Live.
It makes sense that they get a larger share, or does it?
Welcome to the Greenbelt.
All of this, just single detached homes?
Yes.
What do we know? I think we can explain.
About that with Andrew Chang. Watch free on CBC Gem.
It's got to come from the heart.
I will cry. You're so together.
How much more connected do you want to be?
See you there.
Guess what? Pinch me! Yes!
As of today, Canadian businesses face new limits for hiring temporary foreign workers. The program ballooned in the years after the pandemic, and now the federal government is trying to rein it in. Paula Duhachik explains.
The owner of this Mexican restaurant relies on cooks from Mexico to keep his business running.
We are an authentic niche restaurant. It's very difficult to find that kind of experience where the food would come out consistently to our standards.
But new rules may keep him from rehiring his temporary foreign workers when their contracts expire. Only 10% of staff can now be hired through the low-wage program, down from 20%. In regions with high unemployment, they can't use it at all. Mike Aitken figures that's where he may lose out.
Without the cooks that we have, I think our doors will be closed.
Another change, contracts are now limited to 1 year. The program's guidelines were loosened in the wake of the pandemic to help businesses deal with labor shortages.
But today's economy is very different from it was 2 years ago. Inflation has started to come down, employment is higher, and we no longer need as many temporary foreign workers.
I think these changes make sense.
Some economists say businesses shouldn't rely on low-wage temporary workers to fill shortages and should raise wages to attract local workers instead.
We have to decide as a country what's our policy priority. Is it to see wage growth and reducing wage inequality, or is it to support restaurants? I think most Canadians would choose the former.
The industry group, Restaurants Canada, says it generally agrees with the shift the government is making, but wants federal help to fill ongoing vacancies.
For us, it's a matching and training program to help newcomers, asylum claimants, to join the workforce and join our industry.
Exceptions to the new rules will be allowed in some industries like healthcare and construction, and the government says it plans to monitor the labor market in the months ahead and could make more changes down the road. Paula Duhachik, CBC News, Calgary.
The annual Kivalliq trade show wrapped up yesterday. The show lasted 3 days. Its theme was Building a Sustainable Kivalliq and showcased the region's economic goals. Noel Kaluchak has more.
Over 200 people attended the trade show with representatives spanning various sectors from the mining and individual entrepreneurs and artists. Harry Tartungi, mayor of Rankin Inlet, said the event went very well and higher than expected, and hard work staff made it possible.
I am very proud of the staff of the Kivalliq Trade Show and the Recreation Department who made the event a success. They managed to turn around the Singatuk complex into what it was. They also took out the turf at the Agnaco Arena a day before the trade show, and they will now put it in the ice for the hockey camp a day after the trade show ended.
In attendance was Gorati Kakoktinik, who was one of the staff organizers from the Kiwalik Trade Show.
The event turned out better than expected, and seamstresses and artists sold a lot of items. They displayed for sale, and most sold out. It was a very good turnout.
The trade show was an opportunity to build on current programs and present new ideas. Minister David Johnessy also attended the event on behalf of the government of Nunavut, and Johnessy said,
Many artists showed their work and sold many beautiful crafts. And also, on the other section, the businesses who showcased their work, the trades they do, while exchanging ideas. Also, the speakers were very informative all week. What we see being planned is for the future.
The Kiwalik Trade Show wrapped up with a gala, and over $14,000 was raised to support local groups in the Kiwalik region. Noel Kalujak, CBC News, Rankin Inlet.
An education organization in Nunavut is a step closer to expanding. Iqaluit City Council passed a bylaw Tuesday allowing the city to lease land to the organization. Ampere, formerly known as Pinuwak, is spearheading the project. Part of their work includes teaching science, technology, engineering, art, and math to kids and adults. Ampere owns Makerspace in Iqaluit, but says that building isn't big enough. The new space is set to be built on a vacant lot near the road to nowhere. Ampere says the new building would offer more programming and office space.
We need a bigger space because every time we offer programming, it's full.
The project cost is estimated to be up to $12 million. Next steps include finding funding. The Coast Guard is salvaging a boat that sank in Yellowknife's Back Bay. The boat belongs to a Yellowknife resident. It sank in May after being damaged during ice breakup. Robert Brooks is with the Canadian Coast Guard and explains how a team of contractors was able to pull the boat from the lake.
Been working inside the Coast Guard with our colleagues in procurement services in Public Canada to levy a contract with professionals that could assist us in sending divers down to assess the state of the wreck. And in that operation, it was determined that we could safely refloat it to the surface through those divers, and then used a series of individuals and cranes to kind of take it out of the water and safely put it onto a barge where we could take it away from the water. We have two contracts in place right now to help us in this particular case. One is with a company that provides professional diving services, so that's a very specialized skill to have marine divers that can go down safely and to assist us in that space. And then we've also put in place a contract with Canuck Concrete Pumping and Crane. So they're on scene to help us with actually lifting the vessel from the shoreline to secure it safely onto whatever platform will take it away from the water. And what we've seen from our crews that were deployed was there were some amounts of fuel and oil potentially that had come to the surface from the vessel, but certainly not in any large quantities. What we were able to do was effectively contain any of the diesel fuel or oil that came to the surface in the pollution boom that we had deployed. And so we were able to really keep a safe environment and monitor it on a regular basis. If at any point, we had seen any more risk to the environment, we would have undertaken further response measures to protect any vulnerable species or the shorelines in that particular area.
This year's Yukon River Chinook Salmon Run is over. Preliminary estimates say more than 24,000 Chinook swam into Canada. That's nearly double the number from last year, but it's still well below historical averages and current rebuilding goals. Adam Odell is the Yukon River's senior biologist for Fisheries and Oceans Canada. He says it's nice to see a stronger run, but he warns against seeing it as a rebound from the population's steady decline.
We're talking about, a species that has, around 7-year life cycle. I would like to see this happen for a number more years and potentially increase even further. It would be nice even if it would stabilize at a lower number like this. It's good to see, but I wouldn't hold my breath. I would just, I would sit on it for a little while to see how it goes.
Odell says this year's slightly stronger numbers cannot be attributed to current conservation measures. Scientists on both sides of the Canada-US border are working to verify sonar data. They're also reviewing information from radio tagging and disease monitoring projects. The devastation of wildfires across Canada has become a familiar sight. Now, new research indicates a less obvious but long-lasting environmental impact from the intense heat they generate. Anand Ram has the story.
When this intense wall of fire dies down, even in the seemingly lifeless aftermath, the heat continues.
We found a widespread warming effect 1 year after the fire events.
In northern forests around the world, new research reveals the larger the fire, the longer those warmer temperatures will stick around.
We have like 14 years of data, and we do see the residual kind of effects is even last that long, 14 years.
Color drives some of that warming. Blackened earth is less reflective of the sun's heat. Canada's boreal forest is vulnerable because of the type of trees.
Spruce, fir, pine. As a result, it easily ignites and it can burn quite easily.
In these parts of the world, when needled trees burned, researchers found the land warming effect lasted. But in these areas, dominated by more leafy trees with more moisture, fires left little to no residual heat.
Deciduous trees, when a fire roars along, if it hits a stand of, say, trembling aspen, it'll actually dwindle down and sometimes even go out.
It's more evidence in favor of replanting leafy trees in high-risk areas to break up or stall a fire before it gets too large. But experts warn it's no silver bullet, especially in intense drought like Canada saw last year.
When things are extreme, fuel is fuel is fuel. It dries out, it will burn. And so it's only a partial solution to me.
Still one to consider, as climate modeling predicts Canada will see more of these large fires in the future. Anand Ram, CBC News, Toronto.
That is Northbeat for tonight. For news anytime, head to cbc.ca/north. I'm Joseph Ho. Thank you for watching. Have a great night.
Oh, imagine how good the TV's gonna look now.
And spoiler alert,
now. Don't panic.
Don't panic.
Cut to. Well, we're not cutting to.
What do you ladies want to watch?
Look out! It's drama.
Oh.
I'm ready for it.